more absolutely tedious, self-satisfied, self-aggrandizing guff from the Duke and Duchess of woke this week, as Prince Harry says Megxit, which was the term coined in the United Kingdom to describe their leaving the United Kingdom and leaving their royal duties, is a misogynistic term aimed at his wife, Meghan. But is it all about to go very wrong for the Sussexes? We shall find out. Their war against the free press is not going as well as they hoped it might. We'll deal with this pap first, shall we? Prince Harry has said the word Megxit, used by the British press to describe the decision by him and his wife Meghan to quit their royal duties, was a misogynistic term. He said the word was an example of online and media hatred. Maybe people know this and maybe they don't, but the term Megxit was or is a misogynistic term, and it was created by a troll, amplified by royal correspondence, and it grew and grew and grew into mainstream media, but it began with a troll, Harry said. He did not elaborate. As well he might not, because it's not a misogynistic term. There are many, many reasons to dislike Meghan Markle. There are many reasons to dislike her if you're British, but, I mean, I contend that there are many reasons to dislike her regardless of your nationality, and the only reason she's much more popular in the United States is because half of the population of the United States is insane, as evidenced by their frequent voting records. You can make up your own minds as to which half of that America is insane. It was not misogynistic, and almost none, if any, of the abuse supposedly directed at Meghan Markle during her time here was misogynistic, just like the race claims that she raised during her awful, abysmal, cringe-worthy, self-contradicting interview with Oprah Winfrey. I distinctly remember, because I'm more than 5 minutes old, the press coverage of her arrival to the country and her introduction to the royal family, when we were treated to headline after headline of nonsense, like how it's great that the royal family is embracing diversity, it's modernising itself. Meghan is the bright new face of a modern monarchy, which is a contradiction in terms. Everyone was playing up the racial angle, but precisely because they thought it was a damned good thing, and, you know, with a gene pool as obviously condensed as our royal family's is, yes, widening the gene pool was a damned good idea, but the press were almost united in their adoration for Meghan Markle when she turned up, because at that time she hadn't said anything that we could find objectionable, and we didn't know enough about her. But then, of course, she started opening her mouth and forgetting that the point of being a British royal is that you are seen but not heard. And she insisted on making the most insufferable woke pronouncements on everything, especially on issues of gender and race, dragging the royal family into a large number of political issues, which caused a bit of a stink, but most pertinently just behaving like an ass. And that's the thing we don't really like in this country, whatever our politics. We have a sort of deep inbuilt bullshit detector, most of us anyway, and an especial disdain for the kind of nouveau riche, tatty, populist, demagogic, self-aggrandizing neo-aristocracy of the American celebrity class, it's just so obviously fake. Why, America? Why do you do this to yourselves? And obviously, why do you do it to us? Anyway, Harry made the comments while speaking on a panel called the Internet Lie Machine, organised by a US magazine, Wired, which is one of those press publications that hates the press, in which he said he told Twitter boss Jack Dorsey the day before the Capitol riots on the 6th of January that his platform was allowing a coup to be staged. Now, it wasn't, because there was no coup. You don't have to accept and condone what happened on January 6th. To say, however, that it was not a coup, I don't condone it in any way, but it was evidently not a coup, and it was not orchestrated, as the FBI found no evidence of pre-planning by any of the people involved, which is probably why, when they did gain entrance to the Capitol building, they all just paraded around like drunk tourists, which is basically what they were. The problem was much to do with a lack of police presence, which, as we saw in other cities all around the country for most of a summer with Black Lives Matter riots, if you don't have police there, rioters will riot and things will get broken and windows will be smashed. And especially in places like Portland, federal buildings will be invaded, but not to the same media outcry as the riots on Capitol 6 got. The riots on January the 6th got, sorry. Anyway, that email, Harry said, I sent the day before, and then it happened and I haven't heard from him since. Well, there's a simple way of testing this. Harry can release the email. One wonders if he will. Because the royal family, this particular branch of the royal family, the Sussexes, have not had a particularly good time with private correspondence of late, as we shall shortly come on to. Their war against the Associated Press is turning against them. which is quite fun and quite exciting, because we all want to see them get what they deserve. Anyway, we'll just carry on very briefly with this particular one. Harry and Meghan, formerly known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, moved to California last year to lead a more independent life. Harry said that part of the reason for their departure was the racist treatment of Meghan, whose mother is black and whose father is white, by the British tabloid media, who all adored her because of her race when she first turned up. It will be interesting to see them cite actual examples of objectively racist treatment by the British tabloid press against Meghan Markle. Disliking what she does is not the same as racism. Just because a black person does something that is objectionable does not make you a racist for pointing it out. And the Oprah Winfrey interview notably failed to turn up any evidence of this. It gave a few headlines which were taken wildly out of context. But we carry on referring to the study, which is a study that shows that 83 accounts on Twitter were responsible for 70% of the hateful content and misinformation, which is surely arguments against them if all of the bile that they object to and blame the entire UK society for and the entire UK corporate press for is in fact coming from just 83 accounts on Twitter, and it doesn't mention the nationality of those Twitter accounts, then it's not really a widespread problem, is it? I mean, bots on Twitter are prolific, and some non-bots but bot-like humans on Twitter are also very prolific. Referring to the study, Harry said on Tuesday that perhaps the most disturbing part of this was the number of British journalists who were interacting with them and amplifying the lies, but they regurgitate these lies as truth. Again, proof, evidence, or GTFO. Harry and Meghan have since campaigned against social media negativity that they say is affecting people's mental health. This is all part of their campaign to live more private lives, as they said they wanted. He invokes Diana, of course, as well. On the subject of lies, however, we can move on to a very interesting story, because the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, is currently embroiled in a very long and fractious and rancorous dispute with Associated Press and others in the media, who she says published private correspondence of hers without her permission, and she's suing them. However, it transpires all is not as it first appeared, because she's now been found to have misled the court in saying this. She apologises for unintentionally not mentioning Aid's contact with authors, as experts say previous court ruling is now in doubt. Essentially, her contention was that when a private letter to her father was published, this was a breach of privacy. She forgot, is her contention. She had not remembered email exchanges and also text exchanges in which she basically said, no, I've written this letter to be leaked, and I would like you to leak it, please. So she said that it was an invasion of privacy because she forgot that she invaded her own privacy, as it transpires, which is not very good. So she's had to apologise to the Court of Appeal after a series of emails were disclosed which showed she was aware of the meeting between her, I think this is her press secretary, is it? The communication secretary, Jason Knauf, and the authors. The emails revealed that the Duchess of Sussex, this is the Telegraph reporting, had provided briefing notes for Mr. Knauf, I can't pronounce it, Knauf, whatever, ahead of the meeting with Omid Scobie and Caroline Durand, and that the Duke of Sussex had offered to tell the authors what his wife had been through in the public eye. Previously, the Duchess had told the court via her lawyer, Shillings, she did not know whether her communications team had given information to the authors, and insisted she had not been contacted by Aids for clarification of any matters relating to the book. However, in a witness statement the Telegraph reports presented on Wednesday, she said she had forgotten Mr. Knauf's meeting with the authors of Finding Freedom in the emails telling her about it. This is not particularly good. Experts in privacy law said on Wednesday that if the appeal court judges decide that the Duchess's admission of misleading the court is central to the case, they could rescind the previous decision by Mr. Justice Warby and order a new hearing with a different judge. She is not, the Telegraph adds, likely to be accused of perjury, as judges are very reluctant to accuse witnesses of lying unless they've done so in person under cross-examination. You can lie out of court, and you can be found in court to have lied out of court, but unless you've lied in the court, they are reluctant to do so, and one suspects, especially in high-profile cases with high-profile celebrities, as such we now must admit she is, like Meghan Markle. The email correspondence was submitted to the court as part of a witness statement provided by Mr. Knauf, who left his job as joint press secretary to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in March, and now works as blah blah blah. Emerged as part of a 3-day hearing during which the Associated Newspapers Limited, the publishers of the Mail on Sunday, are attempting to overturn, this is another pertinent point, a High Court ruling that their publication of extracts from the Duchess's handwritten letter to her father were unlawful, breaching her privacy, copyright and data protection. This is the key thing. Harry and Meghan loathe the free press. The royal family, Diana's sons, perhaps understandably, and in particular, are not keen on tabloid press in particular because they blame the paparazzi for their mother's death. That is an argument that can be made. It's the argument that virtually the entire country bought into at the time, not paying much attention to the valid counter-arguments that are also able to be made. It is unwise, for instance, to have a drunk chauffeur driving you over the speed limit down a tunnel in a foreign city, whether you're being chased by photographers or not, and seatbelts save lives. But anyway, they, particularly Harry, however, now he's relieved of his royal duties, is much more open and vocal about the campaign, first of all against the free press, but also, by extension, and sometimes overtly, against freedom of speech itself. He has in a different interview called Freedom of Speech, Arguments about Freedom of Speech, a distraction, missing the point that freedom of speech is always and everywhere a central issue. It can never be a distraction. That is kind of the point. He loathes this, Meghan loathes this. They are part of this celebrity set which thinks that their power and their privilege, their money and their high status should shield them from unwelcome revelations about their private lives. And in the name of this campaign, Meghan Markle sued Associated Newspapers and Mail on Sunday, the publisher of the Mail on Sunday. Although, as we've just covered, it transpires that the entire basis for her suit is called into question. And it sort of makes you wonder if she knew, and we have to say if she knew because she denies knowing. I think it's safe to say that the denial is implausible, but then much of what she says is implausible. I think it is safe to say there is at least a chance, and not a bad chance either, that she knew, for reasons we shall shortly come on to. If she did, and she nevertheless attempted to sue the Associated Press, then what she was doing was attempting to prosecute a campaign against a free press, against a newspaper publisher, based on a story that she herself had leaked with the intention of having it covered in the press. Now, there is no other way of reading this than as a baseless and deliberate attack on the principles of a free press, a free reporting, a free speech and free inquiry. That's what this amounts to. And we ought really to take it more seriously, even when it comes from someone who, well, Meghan Markle is the power. She is the top in this particular relationship. And Harry looks as he looks there, a weak and sort of feeble drip of a man. But even when it comes from such low status people as these, we ought to take it seriously, because we know from polling in America that Meghan Markle enjoys a large amount of support, much larger than she does in the United Kingdom, and the Americans are generally, have historically at any rate been, much better on freedom of speech issues than the United Kingdom has been, and the subjects of the United Kingdom have been. And if Americans can support this, perhaps it is because they don't know about it. It wouldn't surprise me. Americans aren't also that good at following what goes on outside their own borders, or indeed within them. So it could be that they don't know about it. But regardless, someone who is basically attacking the principles of a free press in the United Kingdom, married to a man who is also attacking the principles of free speech essentially, which is what campaigns against social media giants often do amount to. There are valid criticisms to make of them. It depends what criticism you're making. The criticism he is making is that they allow too much free speech, not that they manipulate facts and information, which of course they do. Associated Newspapers is seeking to use the evidence to show that the Duchess had no automatic right to privacy over her letter, claiming she'd collaborated in sharing details of her life with her biographers. Her witness statement also revealed how the Duchess meticulously wrote the letter, with text messages showing her telling him she was obviously writing with the understanding that it could be leaked, which is, again, why I say there is at least a chance, if not a good chance, that she is not being entirely truthful when she says she has misremembered leaking a letter that she is suing people for reporting, which she leaked it herself. The Telegraph has another specific article on this particular point. They say, for instance, that it could be a turning point in the privacy battle. It could be a turning point. The 2-year battle not only does it potentially weaken the case against her, it also increases the chances her former staff may be called to give evidence against her in a public trial, which she's been desperate to avoid, as the Telegraph rightly says. I would love to see this happen. This would be fantastic. It would be great TV. There's not much worth watching at the moment. Squid Game I've finished. But this would be good. It's better than The Crown, and better than anything that they've so far produced on their lucrative podcast contract. A trial would almost certainly entail the Duchess and Prince Harry being called to give evidence, being cross-examined on oath, which has always been regarded as unconscionable by the royal family. and it will also be up to the court to decide whether, by misleading the court in the evidence she previously gave, the Duchess's conduct amounts to perjury. Now, in the previous article they've said and explained, I think quite convincingly, why this is unlikely, but perjury does carry a maximum sentence of 7 years imprisonment, which would be entertaining if it did happen, unlikely though it is. In her apology to the court, the Duchess said she had no wish or intention to mislead. They may now be starting to understand why the royal family have always done everything they can to avoid bringing or getting dragged into court cases, the Telegraph says, again, correctly. There is one more piece here, I think, which is on the matter of the texts, and this again sort of lends itself against her argument that she was innocent of all this, that she just forgot leaking a thing that she said she didn't want to be leaked, because it turns out she deliberately worded it in such a way as, should it be leaked, it would pull on heartstrings, as she called her estranged father, with whom she is most definitely estranged. They do not get on at all. She called him Daddy, in an effort to pull heartstrings. The Telegraph also reports, believing it would pull the heartstrings in the event it was leaked. The Court of Appeal has heard the Duchess, writing in text messages to her then Communications Secretary, said she had obviously written the letter with the understanding that it could be leaked, being meticulous in her choice of words. If her father leaked it, she said, at least the world will know the truth, adding they were words she could never voice publicly herself. The text read aloud at the Court of Appeal on Wednesday, as the Mail on Sunday argues the privacy, copyright and data protection case involving a letter sent by Meghan to her father should be heard at trial, and it sounds like it bloody well should. In a text message dated August 22nd and read out in court, the Duchess asked Mr. Knauf to read her letter, saying, obviously everything I've drafted is with the understanding that it could be leaked, so I've been meticulous in my word choice, but please do let me know if anything stands out for you as a liability. A second message discussing how to address Mr. Markle read, given I've only ever called him Daddy, it may make sense to open as such despite him being less than paternal, and in the unfortunate event that it leaked, it would pull at the heartstrings. So she didn't leak it, except that she did. She never planned to leak it, she forgot to leak it, except that she deliberately wrote it in such a way as would make it more effective if it were leaked, and then she sued a newspaper for reporting it after it was leaked, and this is all falling apart around her. And I am not feeling any sympathy at all. Can anyone feel any sympathy for her in this particular setting? Write me if you can, because then I'll refer you to a doctor. But no, she is hopefully coming to something like the place where she gets what she deserves. But the trial continues.